Our next speaker is Isabelle Schömann. Isabelle, are you the Deputy General Secretary of the European Trade Union Confederation currently? I know you are great. Congratulations. I know there was a recent change in your position. I wanted to make sure I was getting it right. Thank you very much for joining us. What I'm curious to hear from you is what you think of the directive as passed by European Parliament, and in light of your assessment of the strengths and weaknesses, what you think the alternatives are. You know, we have so much focus on human rights due diligence laws at the moment, but is this where we should be focusing, or is there somewhere else that we should be putting far greater focus as people who are concerned about workers' rights?
Thank you so much, Ale, and thank you for your nice words and for the invitations and of course for the report. Just let me tell you that it will be large ammunitions and evidence that we could use in the discussions, and the discussion is far from being over, as Heidi has mentioned. So from the TUC, European Trade Confederation, is very much on board on mandatory human rights due diligence and responsible business conduct, that this initiative should be titled. We are very much on board. As you know, we've been working very hard with the European Parliament and some member states to move forward. And we have invested a lot of energy and mobilizations, not only on CSDDD, as we call it in Europe, and to reply already to your questions, it's one element out, one piece out of the jigsaw that we see. The other one is, of course, the corporate sustainability reporting due diligence that we have already adopted, whereby here we have indeed a new element in terms of the information delivered on what is happening, not on a financial issue, but on a sustainability issue in the businesses and in the supply chain. And this information is not just for the investors, it's also for the workers, it's also for the community, and it should be on social and environmental issues. So here we have at stake a new piece of legislation that will help us to understand and better control what is happening when it comes, amongst other, for us on the issue of the workers' rights and the trade union rights. As it has been mentioned by Rura and by Jeff, we are already here facing quite a lot of union busting activities, and of course, the more we are equipped, the better we can defend our colleagues. So for us, the development that we are having at the European level are key, and I think this is the unique opportunity we will have in Europe to set a legal framework which is a regulatory one, and this is the level playing field we need in Europe. And just to recall that we've been embarking in this journey, and we have still on our website, and I would like to say it's on the website still, we've been embarking on this issue since 468 days are we waiting for a development which make the difference for the workers, for the trade unions, for the communities, but in particular for the planet, when it comes to the impact of business operations in Europe, outside Europe, throughout the supply chain. So it's a very important initiative, and it has to deliver, and we are very much further mobilizing to make it delivered in the next couple of months, so that we are having, before the end of this Commission's and European Parliament's mandate, a legislation that is adopted. Why it is so important? Just to recall a very simple equations. Human rights, it's about workers' rights. It's about trade union rights. Trade unions and workers' rights are human rights. And these very simple equations had to be made every time, because it's not self-explaining for businesses, nor for certain institutions out there. And this is clearly why we need to have the workers' representative and the trade union participating throughout any plan or strategy on human rights due diligence in businesses. And why? Because workers are the constituency of businesses. And this is an ILO report, a very recent report that provides indeed evidence of this asset, not a cost, an asset to have workers' voice expressed at the business level, in particular when it's about sustainability, productivity, and productions of businesses. And clearly here, the idea to be part of the whole process, being a plan of a strategy, is of course to prevent violation. Is not so much for the sanctions. Of course, if there is a right and there is an obligation, there should be a sanction. If there is an obligation for businesses, if there is no sanctions, there is no obligation. So here, clearly we come to that point, but of course the prevention is very key, in particular here, because we are discussing about the health and safety of workers. And I think here, this is one of the main issue. And of course, when the harm has happened, unfortunately, we have to provide the access to justice and the remedy to the victim, and it's where civil liabilities is also key. With these legislations, we will, if the European Commission delivers an ambitious legislations, we will be able to tackle the issue of the exploitations of workers and the exploitations of the resources in the world. And this is, of course, something that is very much linked to the Green Deal, which is developed in the European Union. And it's for us key that any dimension of due diligence start in the European Union. The supply chain is not just nice to have outside the European Union. The abuses and exploitations in the supply chain start in Europe, and this is where we should act, and this is where the European Union should make the difference. And it's of course to prevent the issue of social dumping and of course regime shopping that business like to do to make the most profit as possible on the back of workers and the communities. And to your point, due diligence, the legislation we should have in a couple of months on the top of the reporting one, on the top of further elements which should secure the health and safety of the worker at the workplace. And of course that those workers can live with the wage they get out of their work, makes the whole very important. So it's not just about due diligence, but it's a lot about due diligence, because here what we are regulating is, of course, the purpose of businesses, which is here a U-turn indeed that we have to operate in the European Union. And I think the European Union can do that, like the European did it back in time on the issue of the protections of data. And I think we should be the front runner, and we are very much looking forward to this marathon. It's about social protections. It's also about avoiding social dumping. It's about indeed the regulations of worker in the supply chain, but also workers, migrant workers coming and used and abused in different sectors. And I could mention the construction sector. We could also mention the transport sector. For us, it's very important. It's about fiscal rules, clearly. It's about the fair share that business have to pay back to the society, in particular when they use the resources, in particular when they use the infrastructure. And this is clearly here where we do see also the role of business. And it's a lot about competition policy. So all of that cannot be seen as silos. It's an important bulk and package of legislations that are already existing and that are coming in the forefront with the core. And this is something that the European Parliament has done. And we thank the European Parliament for these actions, but it's not over yet. And we have to secure that. The right of workers to information consultations and the right to collective bargaining with the aim of agreeing on collective agreements is key and has to be again and again repeated in terms of fixing in those legislations the role of trade unions and workers' rights. So thank you so much, and all looking forward together that we make the difference in Europe and in the world.
Thank you so much, Isabelle, and congratulations on what you've achieved so far, and good luck with that suite of laws that you're attempting to get through.